The multiverse is a concept about which we know frighteningly little. The multiverse is a concept about which we know The multiverse is a concept about which we know frighteningly little. The multiverse is a concept about which where am I? Greetings, fanboys and fangirls. Jared here, and I'm back with another review from Fanboys Forever. Today we're going to be looking at a multiverse of Marvel Legends Doctor Strange figures, the 4 latest Marvel Legends that you could get of the character. In order of release, you have the What If Doctor Strange Supreme figure from the excellent episode of that CGI series on Disney+. If you only watch one episode of that, please make it that one. Next up, we have the Walmart exclusive Doctor Strange. Now, of course, this is the comic book version of the character. Over here, we have the Multiverse of Madness Standard Doctor Strange and the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness Defender Strange. So let's go ahead and look at all 4. Once again, by order of release, we'll be taking a very quick look at the packaging. You can see with the What If Strange, you have a little bit of art from the show, and on the back, just a cross-sell for the other figures and a little bio. And here is the barcode in case you want to see if this guy is still around. He is becoming exceedingly more rare, it seems, lately, and the stock on this guy dried up very quickly. Next up, with the Walmart release, you can see that they've used the comic book font at the bottom rather than a movie or show. And there's some really nice artwork of Doctor Strange on the side. And on the back, we have a really great little bio based on the old comics. Here's the barcode. This is a Walmart exclusive here in the United States. Of course, I do believe that it goes up for pre-order every now and then, and it's also an online exclusive from what I understand. With the Multiverse of Madness movie figure here, you can just see the movie logo down there. On the side, we have a little bit of the key art from the movie. On the back, we have a little bit about the film itself with a very kind of vague bio. And of course, the Build-A-Figure down here. I've not gotten any of the other figures yet, but who knows? Maybe I will. These guys are popping up all over the place, and here's the barcode. And finally, with the newest figure to be released, this is a Target exclusive. It is not just an exclusive to online, though. I believe it's appearing in stores as well. Here we have the movie logo. On the side, we have some key art of this mysterious new variant of Doctor Strange. At least I believe it's a variant. At the time of recording, keep in mind this is before the film comes out, so you may be looking back at this laughing. It's interesting. They have absolutely no real information on the back, and this looks almost just Photoshopped, so very much just like a concept piece of art. And here we have the What If figure freed from its packaging. This is an incredibly impressive figure just from a sculpt standpoint. Again, just to reiterate, make sure that you have watched this episode of the What If series on Disney+. I do have a feeling that it will have some sort of bearing on the plot for the new Doctor Strange film, but I guess that remains to be seen. Either way, it's an absolutely unmissable episode of TV. We have kind of a hyper-real version of the Benedict Cumberbatch likeness, and of course that's something we're going to be seeing all through these figures, different versions of Cumberbatch, except for the comic figure, of course. I really like how this turned out, and I feel like the Marvel Legends sculptors really were onto something with this, being able to get that super stylized kind of art style down to a T. The rest of it is fairly traditional, with some of this maybe even possibly being reused from previous versions of Strange, but I really think that it works, especially the way that they've colored it. Moving on to the back, the cloak is especially detailed. I won't give away anything about the actual episode and the circumstances of why Doctor Strange looks like this, but needless to say, Doctor Strange is powered up to the absolute max, with perhaps some unforeseen and dark consequences for that action. You can see that his little logo here is looking very good. Everything is sculpted as it should be, even his bracelets here with the gold and the burgundy accents. It's just a very impressive figure, and make sure that if you slept on this guy that you get one rather soon. I do have a feeling the value will increase significantly after the release of the new Doctor Strange film. Just a hunch, I have no idea, but we'll see. It's worth pointing out that I did get this guy at my nearest Best Buy. It just so happened they had him on sale for, I believe, $16.99, so for me it was an incredible value. I think in most retail locations he was around the $20 mark. As for accessories, you could consider the cloak an accessory, and we will get to that. He also includes this really cool effect hand, probably something that we've seen out of previous Doctor Strange, but I'm not 100% sure. I really like this, and I'll probably leave him displayed with this. It just kind of gives that extra color accent that I think he needs. It's also worth noting he comes with an hilarious Build-A-Figure part of a naked man's leg. Well, that's certainly what it looks like. It is the extremely orangey leg of the Watcher. It's just really funny that you get this big bare leg. Clearly the guy is using some Nair or something to get that leg silky smooth. Not sure if I'll ever collect all the pieces for this fella or not. All right, and you can see the back of the cape is one of the very best bits of detail of all. Just look at all of the effort that went in to getting all of these paint heads just right. Everything's just looking so cool, and it has a very, very smooth kind of texture. It's kind of strange. This is very flexible, which I do appreciate. The one trade-off is this little post that plugs into the back. It doesn't hold very well. Now, for me, it's a pretty easy fix. I may actually end up taking a little bit of super glue or furniture polish or whatever and letting it dry on that peg and making it a lot more secure. But for me, it holds pretty well anyway. It's good enough. Certainly if you're not jostling them around, it's going to hold just fine. But I do feel like if it had a little more stick, it would hold down like this, and I feel like the cape would look a little better if it were down a little bit. But that's probably the weakest point of the figure. Without the cape, he looks really good as well. And we also know Doctor Strange frequently is without the cape in different moments, so I think it works really well. The articulation is pretty well standard for a Marvel Legend. You are going to get a little bit of limitations due to like the skirt piece. Everything else is exactly what you would expect with all the hyper articulation. The one thing I will say is that there isn't really an abdomen crunch. Instead, you have a really nice joint down there at the waist that allows you to just rotate him around. And there's a really nice hinge at the head right there. So this is a terrific figure. And trust me, once you see that episode of What If, you won't want to be without this. This is a magnificent representation of an incredible Doctor Strange moment. So highly recommend it if you can track one down. Lately, it almost feels as if the Marvel Legends team is trying to go back and give us much more, iconic versions of a lot of the main Marvel players. And especially, it almost feels that they're going back and remaking some of those old Marvel Legends. Even though this isn't one of the Marvel Legends commemorative figures, this Doctor Strange is an excellent example of a figure done kind of in that style. It's a much more streamlined look compared to that old original Doctor Strange Marvel Legend. And it kind of loses some of, the more dramatic paint detail. But this is a much more, instantly iconic version of the Good Doctor. And this is exactly what I think of when I think of a comic book Doctor Strange. It has an incredible amount of just paint hits and variety all around, from the collar on the cape to the back to all the other bits and details that you would expect. He has all the articulation, including a really nice ab crunch right there. And everything is just so well done. There's actually very little reuse aside from the legs, which are very familiar to all of us. But everything else is very much kind of Doctor Strange specific. Even his awesome gloves with the kind of dots all over them that we expect. I wish that the gloves that we saw in Thor Ragnarok were represented far more than just in that movie. That would have been great. It's great to get a really, really nice version of classic kind of 70s, late 60s Doctor Strange, and he really looks terrific. There are actually several head options. This first one is just your classic kind of comic book Doctor Strange. Everything's applied pretty straight on mine, and I'm really happy with it. It's certainly very iconic looking with Doctor Strange's kind of white temples in his hair there. It's very easy to pop these off. And with the articulation, it would have been nice, if it was a little more flexible at the neck. But the thing is that the cape kind of holds it back a little bit back there. It's a very simple thing to switch the heads out. He comes with a couple of others. I really like this one, which is kind of Doctor Strange's meditation head. I actually like it more than the one with the eyes open for some reason. This just feels like a very unique addition and something that we don't get hardly often enough with characters like this, and it's just very well done. I really like how they've added the black there on the eyelashes. It really does look like a comic book drawing, and especially like Charles Bronson from the Death Wish movies.
And sometimes it doesn't.
So that's pretty funny, and it's just really well done. I really like how the hair is longer, just like 70s Doctor Strange. The other head you get is Blue Silver Surfer. I'm kidding. Don't slaughter me in the comments. No, really though, this is Astral Form Doctor Strange, and it's really, really cool looking. and it covers enough of the flesh tone neck down there to where it's not really that noticeable from any sort of distance. So I realize that the flesh tone neck stays, but it's almost like they engineered the head to do a really good job of covering that up, or the chin to at least be deep enough when it's plugged in to where you're not going to see it, especially if it's down like that. You would never even know it was there. So I actually think this is a pretty cool little addition. Could you imagine how funny it would be if in the movies this is what happened every time you went into the astral plane? He comes with several alternate accessory options to show his magic effects. He does come with these little clip-on magic bits here, and they look really nice. It's kind of an instant bit of pizzazz to add to the figure, and I think it really does something for it. You can also take these hands right off. And in lieu of those, you get a fisted left hand and a clasping right hand. That means you can use things like this magic scepter. And I think it's a really nice looking accessory with a slight wash on there to bring out the details. If you want Doctor Strange to go medieval, you can get this cool battle axe, and I think that looks terrific as well. Although I've certainly had my misgivings in the past about their Marvel Legends 20th Anniversary series, I definitely think Hasbro missed a trick by not having this guy be one of the frontliners for that series. I realize he wasn't in the original first series of Marvel Legends, but it would have been an easy thing to have just homaged that later figure. I think this is really, really nice looking, and it has just so many different accessory options, so many alternate heads, that this guy, I think, is truly deserving of being one of those kind of event figures. I suppose some of this is due to him being some kind of retailer exclusive for Walmart, and I guess maybe they were able to pull out a few extra stops, especially since he has a new movie coming out. But this, for me, is the definitive comic book Doctor Strange. And here we have Doctor Strange from the Multiverse of Madness. Now it's funny because there had just so recently been a Doctor Strange figure on the shelves for Spider-Man No Way Home. As a matter of fact, it's still on the shelves from that series, and then they released another basic Doctor Strange. Of course, there are a few differences, and Doctor Strange's costume design has slightly changed for the new movie, as of course Marvel is wont to do. I think the main thing to take away from this new release, though, is that I feel like they have finally perfected the Benedict Cumberbatch likeness. It's hard to believe just what a journey Hasbro has taken with the Cumberbatch likeness, from that first figure that we got all those years ago, hardly looking anything like the actor, to this being just a fantastic representation. It's amazing that they've come so far. I especially like that Doctor Strange's costume is more comics accurate than ever. He does possess all the articulation that all of your standard Marvel Legends would, with nothing really being missing, and a really nice and effective ab crunch right there that goes far more than I thought it would. However, there's really one major caveat and one major hang-up that is holding this guy back, and it's the way that the cape is not fastened at all to the figure. Now, keep in mind that I'm able to keep it on there okay, I guess, while he's just standing, but as soon as you even sort of move him, it just comes right off. That's because there is literally nothing keeping the cape on. There's no peg hole even, so there's not even really a really great way to fix this. The only thing that I could imagine doing would be to heat this cape up in boiling water just for a few seconds, and then pinch it together like so, and then run some cold water over it to make it kind of stay like this, to where it will clasp more around his neck. As it stands, you're lucky to be able to just set it on there and then just let it be. But you're not going to be able to get any sort of dynamic poses with the guy and expect the cape to stay on, which is really just a shame because it looks good. It's a shame that there wasn't any foresight given to maybe keeping that thing on, because it's really a fantastic looking figure. Now, from what I've seen from the movie, there's plenty of stuff where he's not wearing the cape in the trailers and things. So I suppose that if it's just those kinds of scenes you want to recreate, then that's great and it'll look fine. I also think that maybe they didn't want to compromise the sculpt of this version of the cape, and you can see they've done a lot of work here, but it's awfully plain Jane, as we know in the movie that all of this in the interior of the cape has all sorts of different coloring and it's kind of woven, and I think just a dark wash would have brought out so much more, but as it stands, it's just a red piece of plastic with the clasps on the front painted this kind of bronzy color. So it's a real shame that it just isn't very effective to put on the figure. Perhaps this should have been the time when they experimented with the soft goods. That may have been the way to go for this guy and make him stand out from the rest. But other than that, it is a really cool figure, and I certainly think the look rivals things that we've seen from Figuarts in terms of facial sculpt. That's just my opinion, but I think they finally nailed it. It does come with a few different alternate hands, including the iconic comic book poses for the magical hands here, so that's always great to get those. He also comes with a couple of magic wielding hands, and you can see where the fingers just plug into those effects, so those are always really great to see. Although I would have loved to have seen them fix the issues with the cape, it's hard not to be tickled with the way this guy came out, especially with the great likeness, so it's definitely a begrudging recommendation. By far the newest figure in this entire review is the new Defender Strange, which is the Target exclusive Marvel Legend. Defender Strange here represents in the movie one of the many Doctor Strange variants, which apparently Stephen Strange will be running into over the course of the story. I can only imagine for now exactly what the nature of this character is. Of course, the name would suggest the Defenders from the comics, which of course Doctor Strange is a member of, and this very much resembles an outfit that he often wears when teamed up with that supergroup. With that in mind, it's really hard to say what the film represents until it actually comes out. All I do know is that the costume is very, very cool and incredibly superheroic and incredibly comic booky, much more so than what we've seen from Doctor Strange's other costumes in the MCU. I also like that it kind of feels like a battle suit of sorts. You can see all of the cool kind of Doctor Strange symbols and things. I'm especially fond of the really good likeness. Once again, it is an absolutely great Benedict Cumberbatch, and I suppose they felt if it was Doctor Strange's movie, they really needed to start nailing that likeness, and nail it they did. It looks really great. All the paint applications are incredibly clean. There's a little bit of getting off track right there on the red, but other than that, it's really very, very nicely done, reminding me a little bit of the intricate patterns of the Eternals costumes. And yes, love it or hate it, those costumes were really, really well detailed. So it's really nice to see these kind of come through here. Of course, the success or failure of this figure will greatly depend on people's reception to this particular version of Doctor Strange the movie. However, if you're like me and you love Doctor Strange, then chances are you'll want to collect all the different variants of him that appear in the film. So for me, I'm probably going to be tracking down, like, say, Zombie Doctor Strange when it eventually comes out. Let's certainly hope that those are coming sooner rather than later. He also comes with a couple of alternate hands, but they're really nothing to write home about, with one grasping hand, and I believe the left one is just a fist, yes. The really interesting part is the giant portal that he comes with, and I love the detail on this thing. You can see the kind of yellow paint application going all the way around through this kind of semi-transparent orange portal. It's great because it stands really well, it's painted on both sides, and it just looks fantastic wherever you place it. This is definitely a must-have for any fan of the movie Doctor Strange. Heck, it's a must-have if you really love Spider-Man No Way Home, because this, of course, plays an important part in how a lot of those characters come into the world from the multiverse. Now, putting Doc Strange here, you can see that it is about his height, so it pretty well works. Of course, ideally, to utilize this correctly, you're going to want to have a character kind of stepping through or stepping out from it, and I think that looks really great. I definitely suggest that even if you're not too interested in this version of Doctor Strange, and your mileage may vary there, who knows, maybe he's a lame duck of a character, or he's awesome in the actual movie, I don't know yet. I would probably pick this guy up just for the portal, if nothing else. This is a really cool looking Doctor Strange though, and I probably would have gotten this portal or no portal, but it's amazing to have this, just so that you can see it with the standard Doctor Strange. And of course, imagine the possibilities if you had this guy on a flight stand or something. This isn't even being supported by anything right now. There's really no trickery, so it's actually really nice. And it adds a tremendous amount to the standard Doctor Strange figure. So I definitely would get this portal because it's beautiful. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Heck, you could even use this thing for your Avengers Endgame display. Having a bunch of these, if you were willing to, spend $30 for each one of these deluxe figures. And I really hope that eventually Hasbro makes a way to just buy some of these, because I think everybody's going to want these to kind of put some of your other Marvel figures together. And you can always pretend that they're coming through in portals and in order to help their fellow Marvel heroes. So I do think that it is a terrific looking set and one that you will definitely want to get a hold of. So now that we've looked at all of the many different Doctor Strange options that you have on the Marvel Legends market right now, then let's go ahead and rank these guys, because why not? And of course, in order to rank these, I'm going to use the foot, because what else am I going to use it for? And of course, this list is completely subjective. I'm just trying to give you my own opinion for which Doctor Strange deserves your hard-earned money. All 4 of these figures are extremely strong. However, at number 4, we'll just put the standard Doctor Strange. It's very unlikely that you don't have a standard Marvel Cinematic Universe Doctor Strange at this point, and especially if you bought the last version, this one may be a slightly tough sell. Combine that with the ineffective execution of the cape and how easy it is to come off, and I think that that one is probably the bottom of the barrel, unfortunately, although it is a very good figure in its own right. Next up, the Defender Strange himself is a really great figure. I am very impressed by the likeness. I'm very impressed by the design. However, it may be a little redundant right now, especially for all of us who have not yet seen the film. So he is a little less familiar. However, he does look like a great design, and that portal really sells the figure. And the number 2 spot, I'm going to put the Supreme Doctor Strange. It was such an effective episode of TV, and to get this guy in action figure form is just spectacular. Even if the cape does barely hang on at times, all of those extra little details and the really cool stylization that they've managed to capture in sculptural form is just fantastic. So I definitely suggest him. And for my number 1 spot, definitely Comic Book Strange right over here. He's an incredible figure. It is definitely the comic book version that I've always been after. There's a ridiculous amount of customization options, and even though he is a store exclusive, just like Defender Strange, I have to say that he comes highly recommended. The next time that he comes up for pre-order on the Walmart website, do yourself a favor and get a hold of this guy, because he is the classic comic book Doctor Strange that, if you're anything like me, you've been waiting for. Alright, fanboys and fangirls, I sure do appreciate you watching the video today. Of course, make sure you subscribe to the channel here on Fanboys Forever. We always have different kinds of videos coming around, whether those are action figure reviews or movie reviews or He-Man videos. It seems like we're always doing something or another. Of course, we're big Doctor Strange fans here at Fanboys Forever, and we do plan on covering the release of the Multiverse of Madness. Of course, since Sam Raimi is behind the camera, I'm looking especially forward to this particular release. I hope that you'll join us here on the channel as we look forward to it. Be sure to like the video, as it really does help us out and helps YouTube and the algorithm to share it with all those who may be interested. And as always, God bless you and yours, and I'll see you on Fanboys Forever. Fanboy out.